George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. One of the partners that we have is the Central New York Community Foundation, in the community doing work to amplify all voices. And they are trying to amplify the voices of those who might be subject to lead in their water. The Central New York Community Foundation received a $400,000 grant to support their work through the I always say lead, through the LeadSafeCNY coalition. This grant was from the Mother Cabrini Health Foundation. Here to talk about that and the work that this grant will do in community is Darrell Buckingham. He is a program officer for the Central New York Community Foundation. Darrell, good to see you as always.
Good to be seen, brother. I'm glad you had me on.
So let's talk about this. Lead, a big issue in many of our communities, and what is this grant going to do from the Mother Cabrini Health Foundation?
Thank you. So we received a $400,000 grant from the Mother Cabrini Health Foundation. This grant is for 2 years. This $400,000 will be spread out over 2 years to further support our LeadSafeCNY coalition. I say our, but it's not ours, right? It belongs to the community, right? This is a community run coalition, and it will help support the director position to some extent. But more than that, it will help support some of the great ideas that come out of that coalition. Some of the committees meet on a monthly basis, and they come up with ideas. They work together to figure out, small things or small steps that we can take to kind of decrease the lead poisoning rates here in Central New York. And some of those partners are, there's funders involved in this coalition. There are other community partners. There are healthcare professionals. There are Onondaga County Health Department very much involved. City of Syracuse. There are advocates. There are affected families who are most important to the work that we do as part of this coalition, and so many others. Some landlords, not as many as we like. We'd like to see more landlords because certainly we don't want to be adversaries. Landlords' voices and experience is important as we try to tackle this issue.
And so when you think about the work of the LeadSafeCNY coalition, so basically the Community Foundation is supporting the LeadSafeCNY coalition to then make grants to individuals in the community. And so what's been the impact of those efforts?
So I'm going to try not to confuse things, George.
Thank you.
But if I do, please let me know. And so here at the Central New York Community Foundation, we have a LeadSafeCNY initiative, which I lead. And we will grant out funds to help support particular projects as long as those projects are specific to decreasing lead poisoning in our community, whether it's lead paint, lead in water, whatever that looks like. We have a budget set aside to help do that. That is separate from the LeadSafeCNY coalition, right, which is community owned, led by our new director, Latoya Jones, who's fantastic. And she works at United Way, right? And her role is to help keep that coalition running and supporting all the great things that come from that. In terms of impact, I'll speak on behalf of the initiative that I run first. So I think to date, we've funded well over $2 million. And some of those categories which we fund is public policy. We have 5 major categories: public policy, there's housing construction, health and safety, there's also education and awareness. Lastly, certain but not least, there's workforce development. And so those 5 key areas is where we kind of support projects in those particular areas. I will say, specific to Mother Cabrini, to date, they have helped support, on top of our LeadSafe funding, they've given to us by way of grants over $1 million in the last 5 years. And so we take that fund along with our funds and kind of try to make the magic happen on behalf of our partners in the community.
And this is critical because we do know that chipping lead paint is the leading cause of lead poisoning in the United States. And as you mentioned, many of our units, many of the rental units in our community are impacted by that. And we know that elevated blood levels in young children have been found to cause reduced brain function. And this is again sort of, I don't want to say a silent killer, but sometimes we just don't know. We're talking about dust particles,
Yeah, man.
right? All of the above, right? And so we see that showing up in academic success, social interaction, and other things as you report. And so that's why this work is important. And so for people who are watching or listening to you, and again, distinguish the two initiatives so we're real clear once again.
Yes. So once again, the Central New York Community Foundation has a LeadSafeCNY initiative by which we fund out to different community partners around lead. But as of 2 years ago, going on 3 years now, we kind of restarted the coalition.
Mm-hmm.
There was a previous iteration of a GHHI coalition, the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, where I think it was a federal grant that started that coalition, and folks were working together similarly. So what we did, certainly during the time of COVID, we recognized that there was a disconnect around the fact that folks hadn't been meeting, they hadn't been really working in silos around the issue. And so we wanted to kind of restart this coalition, begin to have these conversations, because not only was lead an issue in our community, but compounded by COVID and so many families being forced to be in many of those unsafe homes. Right. So it was important that we begin to have conversation, that we begin to kind of leverage our collective knowledge and resources to try to solve the issue. And so this new iteration of the coalition was born with some new players, some old players, but nonetheless, it was extremely important to get folks talking again and strategizing. I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, perfectly. And again, this is important. LeadSafeCNY.org, where you can find out more information. And you want people to know that this money is available to support this work in the community. If you're in a rental unit or whether you're a landlord, what's the process? Just to reiterate.
So again, what I do is, my position is program officer for strategic initiatives. And so that means I'm very strategic by how I spend the funds for this initiative, right? And so there's some partners that we've identified that are already doing great work in a particular area, and we will fund that. If there's a new thing that comes up, we'll fund that. For example, Home Headquarters, Windows and Doors program, excellent program. That's how we use the Mother Cabrini funding in the first 3 years.
Yes.
Right. And then our great partners at the county decided to do $500,000 toward Windows and Doors. We then took the Mother Cabrini funds when we started applying, and we are now moving that money over to the coalition to support the coalition. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Well, you were talking about how people access the funds, and so the track that you were on is the partners who you give that money to do the work, replacing windows and doors, etc. Because
so we fund we fund the organizations that then support the work or the programs, right? So they wouldn't come to us for those funding, right? We support the community partners, right?
Right. So you go to the community partners for support. And one of the reasons why are you focused on windows and doors?
So again, it as you already shared, that the EPA, already says that it's chipping paint that's the leading cause of lead poisoning.
Right.
And what happens with windows and doors is those are high friction areas where you're more likely right, to see some of that chipping paint.
Right.
And because of those friction points, the poison by way of dust gets ingested, right? And so that's one of the reasons why in many old homes, because we got a whole lot of old homes here in Central New York, about 90% of occupied homes were built before 1980. And so, when there's these really old homes and you've got these windows and doors that require replacing, just that alone doesn't solve the problem, but it goes a long way to decreasing exposure, in particular to our children.
All right, as a program officer of the Central New York Community Foundation, you're doing great work, and we appreciate the work you do. Community Foundation also has a number of other initiatives, and one of those I wanted to ask you about is some of the work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Specifically, you got a fund called the Black Equity and Excellence Fund, and things of that nature. How is the conversation happening in the country affecting the positioning of the CNY Community Foundation around the work that you have supported that's inclusive, diverse, and equitable?
That's a really great question. The current climate on the cooling off of DEI or the pushback on DEI is concerning. As you know, I lead our Black Equity and Excellence Fund, and I've done so for the past couple of years. And I do that with great help from our partners here at the organization and in the community. So, one of the things that we believe strongly in as an organization, because this work is built into the DNA, right? It's literally baked into the DNA of our strategic plan and the work that we plan on doing for the next however many years. We don't plan on necessarily stopping anything that we are doing. I will say this, George, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because at the end of the day, I'm just the program officer. I don't call the shots. But what I will say is that we are committed to continuing to create impact. We are committed to centering the voices that need it most. We will just figure out a more strategic way to go about doing that, if it comes to that.
If it comes
right?
to that, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Right.
We're not there yet. But what I am sure of is that there were many great people that came before us and will come after us, right? But it is our responsibility to continue to do the work. And as far as I know, and as far as our great leader and CEO, Melanie Littlejohn, as far as I know, she's also very much committed to this effort. But we are having these conversations internally. We don't plan on stopping the work that we're doing. We will need to be smarter, wiser, and a little more strategic.
I was waiting for the word strategic.
A little more strategic, yes, sir, about continuing the impact.
All right. Very good. That's Darrell Buckingham. We wanted to get that on the record because it's a conversation as we watch around the country these efforts. We have companies. Google just this week decided that it was not going to continue its, as it describes, minority hiring goals and reassess its DEI commitment. Now, remember, a lot of the commitments came as a result of America watching a public execution, if you will, by the way of George Lynch, Floyd Lynch. Sorry, oh Lord,
George Floyd. Yes,
George Floyd. Right. I don't know where I got that from. You know why I was thinking Lynch.
Right.
George Floyd. And so so what the community response is, and this is not necessarily about CNY Community Foundation, but now what people are doing is saying, okay, who are the companies that have reaffirmed their commitment? And Costco comes to mind because they were one of the first to do it, and many others. But it's also around. It just shows you the work that has to be done, and circling back to the subject at hand, which is about lead safety in our communities. our communities, many communities are, especially those that we consider most underrepresented,
Yeah,
are those communities that are most adversely affected. So,
absolutely,
right,
absolutely.
this is not operating in a vacuum. We're trying to not we, but the community effort is to make sure that everybody has equitable conditions, and so that we can improve the quality of life for the residents of our community who are suffering from some of the highest concentrated poverty where some of these conditions exist. So that's a full
Yeah,
circle. And
yeah,
through the
yeah.
work of the Central New York Community Foundation and the Mother Cabrini Health Foundation, it is Mother Cabrini Health Foundation, isn't it? I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Public Green Health Fund.
Through that effort, we're seeing the impact that the work of the Lead CNY effort and that Lead CNY coalition will have an impact through the community partners working in concert with the Central New York Community Foundation, our partner here on Inspiration for the Nation. So thank you so much, Darrell. Unless there's something else you need us to know, just tell us what we need to know, bro.
No, I just want to say thank you to you, man. I appreciate you not just having me on, but the great work that you do. You are certainly a pillar in our community that does not go unnoticed. Here we are, Black History Month. They try to take that too, but here we are.
Black
Uh,
folks said,
yeah,
not
yeah.
today.
You can call it what you want to, but we gonna do Black History Month.
We're gonna do
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
that. And I saw a quote from George Fraser: "Never ask your permission to do it, and don't need your permission to do it."
You
Okay,
can't disinvite us to the cookout.
okay,
It's our cookout.
it's our cookout. Oh man, you made my day just now. Darrell, let them know, Darrell Buckingham,
Yes,
Program Officer for the Central New York Community Foundation here on Inspiration for the Nation. LeadSafeCNY.org. Check out the website there. And of course, shout out to LaToya Jones doing that work with United Way, the Lead Safe CNY Coalition. Inspiration for the Nation.